Welcome back, everybody, for another round of Charlie Brown Politics. I'm Charlie Brown, and this is my co-host for the day, Nina. All right, now I'm sure you've heard Tucker Carlson went to Moscow to interview the one and only Vladimir Putin, okay? The mainstream media is freaking out about this. Why? Because their narrative is crumbling before their very eyes. The narrative that they've been trying to paint for the last 6 years. What am I talking about? I'm talking about things like Russiagate. The reason why Trump was elected was not because Hillary Clinton was the worst presidential candidate we've ever seen, the worst politician you could ever put on the face of the earth, because she didn't go and try to get votes from the Rust Belt states like Donald Trump did, because she couldn't beat a game show host with a comb over, a baboon-faced baboon. No, it was only Russia's fault. It was only Jill Stein's fault. It was only people like Susan Sarandon's fault. Now, like I said, Tucker went over to interview Vladimir Putin. This is going to be the first time somebody from the West has interviewed the president of Russia since the war in Ukraine has broken out. And I happen to think that it's a good side that needs to be told a story, a part of the story that does not get a lot of look from people in the U.S. So the first thing that I want to pull up is something you've probably already seen, but it's Tucker breaking the news that he is there to interview Vladimir Putin. So let's go ahead and pull this up and we'll get after it. Just give me 1 second here. All right, and there we go.
We're in Moscow tonight. We're here to interview the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. We'll be doing that soon. There are risks to conducting an interview like this, obviously, so we've thought about it carefully over many months. Here's why we're doing it. First, because it's our job. We're in journalism. Our duty is to inform people. 2 years into a war that's reshaping the entire world, most Americans are not informed. They have no real idea what's happening in this region, here in Russia or 600 miles away in Ukraine. But they should know. They're paying for much of it in ways they might not fully yet perceive. The war in Ukraine.
And what's he talking about here? We're paying for this war in ways that we're not fully perceiving. Well, open your eyes. We're paying for it right now with our increased gas prices, with our increased food prices, the never-ending cost for sending war out is finally coming back home. It's finally being seen in our wallet books.
Ukraine is a human disaster. It's left hundreds of thousands of people dead, an entire generation of young Ukrainians, and it's depopulated the largest country in Europe. But the long-term effects are even more profound. This war has utterly reshaped the global military and trade alliances, and the sanctions that followed have as well. And in total, they have upended the world economy. The post-World War II economic order, the system that guaranteed prosperity in the West for more than 80 years, is coming apart very fast, and along with it, the dominance of the US dollar. These are not small changes. They are history-altering developments.
What's he talking about? The US dollar, if you don't know, is no longer backed by gold. It hasn't been for a very long time. We are backed by the petrodollar, which is an agreement with Saudi Arabia that they will sell their oil to other countries, but the other countries have to buy it in US dollars. This was, I don't know how to describe it, a bubble that propped up the US dollar. But that is all coming to an end with the formation of BRICS. It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are forming this alliance where they are no longer accepting the US dollar being the world's most powerful form of currency, but they're forming their own, of a form that is backed by gold, and it's putting a huge threat to the US dollar. So this is what Tucker is talking about here.
They will define the lives of our grandchildren. Most of the world understands this perfectly well. They can see it. Ask anyone in Asia or the Middle East what the future looks like. And yet the populations of the English-speaking countries seem mostly unaware. They think that as nothing has really changed. And they think that because no one has told them the truth. Their media outlets are corrupt. They lie to their readers and viewers. And they do that mostly by omission. For example, since the day the war in Ukraine began, American media outlets have spoken to scores of people from Ukraine, and they have done scores of interviews with Ukrainian President Zelensky. We ourselves have put in a request for an interview with Zelensky, and we hope he accepts. But the interviews he's already done in the United States are not traditional interviews. They are fawning pep sessions specifically designed to amplify Zelensky's demand that the U.S. enter more deeply into a war in Eastern Europe and pay for it. That is not journalism. It is government propaganda. Propaganda of the ugliest kind, the kind that kills people. At the same
Does that sound familiar? Okay, Ukraine's not the only war that was lied upon, okay? What about weapons of mass destruction? What about the Gulf of Tonkin? There, time and time again, you can go back to the media lying us into these never-ending wars.
same time, our politicians and media outlets have been doing this, promoting a foreign leader like he's a new consumer brand. Not a single Western journalist has bothered to interview the president of the other country involved in this conflict, Vladimir Putin. Most Americans have no idea why Putin invaded Ukraine or what his goals are now. They've never heard his voice. That's wrong. Americans have a right to know all they can about a war they're implicated in, and we have the right to tell them about it because we are Americans too. Freedom of speech is our birthright. We were born with the right to say what we believe. That right cannot be taken away no matter who is in the White House. But they're trying anyway. Almost 3 years ago, the Biden administration illegally spied on our text messages and then leaked the contents to their servants in the news media. They did this in order to stop a Putin interview that we were planning. Last month, we're pretty certain they did exactly the same thing once again. But this time, we came to Moscow anyway. We are not here because we love Vladimir Putin. We are here because we love the United States, and we want it to remain prosperous and free. We paid for this trip ourselves. We took no money from any government or group, nor are we charging people to see the interview. It is not behind a paywall. Anyone can watch the entire thing, shot live to tape and unedited, on our website, tuckercarlson.com. Elon Musk, to his great credit, has promised not to suppress or block this interview once we post it on his platform, X, and we're grateful for that. Western governments, by contrast, will certainly do their best to censor this video on other less principled platforms because that's what they do. They are afraid of information they can't control. But you have no reason to be afraid of it. We are not encouraging you to agree with what Putin may say in this interview, but we are urging you to watch it. You should know as much as you can. And then, like a free citizen and not a slave, you can.
And so, there you have it. Tucker went to Moscow to interview Vladimir Putin. Now, like I said, the mainstream media is freaking out. Now, there's a few things that need to be pointed out. Mainstream media and U.S. journalists have interviewed people that are considered foreign adversaries all the time, okay? Larry King did an interview with Muammar Gaddafi. I can't remember who did the interview. Arnett. He interviewed Osama bin Laden. Yes, the Osama bin Laden. And it was a very well-known interview, and he was praised for it. They called him courageous. So why, in this point in history, at this moment in time, is the mainstream media acting like Tucker Carlson's a traitor to our country for interviewing a foreign adversary, or how they're trying to paint him out to be? So the next thing that I want to show you guys is going to be an article here. Give me 1 second to pull it up. Here we go. And this is going to be from The Guardian. And we're just going to read a little bit of it. And it's going to give you kind of an example of how. Oh, sorry, I don't have that pulled up. Sorry, having trouble here, guys. All right, there it is. Apologies, forgive me. So it's going to show you how the mainstream media is treating Tucker here. So here we go. Tucker Carlson confirms Russia trip and teases Putin interview. Former Fox host was spotted in Russia capital where he says he was to interview Putin about Ukraine war for the Twitter show. And so this is how they started off. The far right pundit. And so I don't know if I would label Tucker far right. He's conservative for sure, but far right, I would not put him there. Of course, they're going to label him that. The far right pundit and former Fox News host, Tucker Carlson, confirmed on Tuesday he was in Moscow to interview Vladimir Putin and said he would air his conversation with Russian's president to counter what was described as pro-Ukraine fawning pep sessions by Western media covering the war. Speculation had been growing for days that Carlson, who was dumped by Fox last year for getting too big for his boots, had traveled to Russia to the Russian capital to meet Putin. Okay, so right here, uh, another line that I want to point out. Speculation had been growing for days that Carlson, who was dumped by Fox last year for getting too big for his boots. What does that even fucking mean? Getting too big for his boots. Okay, and so let me just click on this because I want to know what the evidence is for getting too big for your boots. And this is where they get it from. Tucker Carlson fired by Fox News for getting too big for his boots, book says. Now, whose book is it? Network of Lies by Brian Stelter. Yep, that's right. That shiny faced asshole from CNN that got fired from CNN or let go. I don't remember how it went. That got caught lying about everything you can talk about, from the lockdowns, from the Ukraine war to every single war behind that. That is who they're going by. That was their evidence that they're going by in this last article. Okay. And just for you guys to see, let me show a little video of Brian Stelter real quick.
If Jon Stewart thinks you're a piece of
and this is Joe Rogan talking about him.
I'm going to listen.
Right.
You know? But if Brian Stelter doesn't like you, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Everything about the guy is strange. Everything about
Very strange. His pattern of communication is so strange. It's like, do you listen to other people?
Yeah.
They talk very differently than you.
Yes, he has that,
Yeah. And also, Crystal Ball from Breaking Points was making fun of him the other day. She's like, why does he sit like this? Because you ever notice he sits like this? One of my favorite moments was him with Barry Weiss, where Barry Weiss, and he, how has the world gone crazy?
Oh, yes.
And
yeah.
she just rattles
She was really
off
good,
one after another after another.
That's right.
So we don't have to watch all of that. I was just trying to show you guys a reminder of who Brian Stelter was. And so, all right, so you guys get what I'm trying to say here. Let's finish that article. Tucker Carlson going to Russia should not be this big of a deal. They should not be putting him out to be a traitor. What he's doing is a side that Americans should know. And we don't really get to see that side, and we don't get to hear what this man has to say a lot. So even if you don't agree with everything Tucker says, I don't, for sure. You know, I'm about to get another co-host here. Oh, Jack Kennedy. Get out the way. Nina does not like Jack, so let me just put that out there. And so, what else is there to say? I think this is very brave of Tucker. He's putting his neck out there. Obviously, with the government spying on his text messages and his emails after the first time he attempted to get in contact with Putin, that would scare me, but he went ahead and had the courage to go ahead and do this, like he said, because first, it's his job, and the American people need to do it. So Tucker has been speaking the truth on a lot of situations, especially foreign policy wise. He spoke the truth on Syria. Uh, and I was pretty surprised to see that when it happened back in the day as well. But he stuck to his guns, and he's been speaking the truth on a lot of things. And you don't have to agree with him on everything. But so there it is. There's my take on Tucker going to see Putin, and I'm excited to see the actual interview. So with that, everybody, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. The subscribe button should be down here, and there should be another video that's best for your choosing over here. So I'll catch you guys on the next episode of Charlie Brown Politics. Later.